Welcome. We're going to wait a couple seconds as we allow everyone to come in today. Welcome. My name is Noemi Guevara, and it's my pleasure as the Director of Alumni Engagement to welcome you to this edition of our 49er Industry Chat. Before we start, I would like to let you know the session is being recorded and it will live on our website on demand at csulb.edu/alumni. We also encourage you to use our Q&A box located below to submit any questions for our guest speaker today. And now I would like to introduce you to our moderator for this chat, Alice LaViolette. Alice is a double alumna, earning her degrees in psychology in 1969 and 1980. She was recognized as a distinguished alumna in 2011 for the College of Liberal Arts and currently serves as a committee chair in the CSULB Alumni Council. Alice, thank you for moderating the chat today, and now I'll pass it on to you.
Thanks, Noemi, and thanks for setting everything up. We're very excited to have David Maggard speaking to us today. Dave leads the public safety and security efforts for Los Angeles World Airports. He's responsible for airport security, policing, counterterrorism, and emergency response efforts at LAX and at Van Nuys General Aviation Airports. Prior to serving in Los Angeles, Dave spent nearly 13 years as the chief of police in the city of Irvine. He served 35 years in public safety positions throughout California. He received his Bachelor of Arts in Legal Studies from UC Berkeley, a Master of Science in Criminal Justice from California State University, Long Beach, and a Doctor of Education from Pepperdine University. He was presented with a Distinguished Alumni Award for CSULB College of Health and Human Services and served as a fellow for the CSULB Ukleja Center for Ethical Leadership. Please welcome today's industry chat host, Dave Maggard.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you're doing well. It's really a pleasure to be with you all today, and what I had hoped to do is share with you a little bit about what I do presently here at Los Angeles World Airports. And I know that there's some opportunities for some chat questions, and I shared with Alice that certainly if anyone has a question with regard to what I'm trying to cover, more than welcome to receive those as we go, and perhaps there's a chance to answer some questions at the end also. As you saw, and as Alice was kind enough to share with you with regards to my bio, I graduated from Long Beach with a master's degree in 97, and I would be remiss just not to mention that great experience and what it did to help further my career and provide even more opportunities for me to engage in higher education. It seems like it was a while back, and if you do the math, it was. For folks that are kind of more recent graduates or maybe even students at the time, just a little bit of a fun fact here. You know, in '97 there wasn't online offerings, there wasn't a lot of weekend or compressed schedules. It was much more traditional, with the exception that there were some night classes. And so the last two classes that I took while I was completing my degree, I actually was living out in the desert. I was a police lieutenant in the city of Indio. And so to finish my last two classes, I actually had to take vacation days throughout the semester so I could drive to Long Beach to complete that. But it was all worth it. And I'm sure glad that I did that. And so whatever challenge you might have, whether you're completing your degree or thinking about getting another one, I would certainly encourage you to do it. It's always worth it, regardless of what the sacrifice is. So I have many fond memories of my time in Long Beach, and it's a real pleasure to be with you again here today. What I thought I'd do is just try to share a little bit of a PowerPoint that I've prepared just for our time. Maybe somebody can just give me a thumbs up to make sure that you can see that. Hopefully you can. We're known here at the airport as Los Angeles World Airports. We're actually a department of the City of Los Angeles. So the people who serve here with me are actually City of Los Angeles employees. There's about 3,300 of them here that just work at the airport. Like the Port of Los Angeles, we're a proprietary department, which means that for police and a lot of the work that we do here on the city side, we don't rely upon tax dollars. We actually pay our staff and our people and our public safety costs from the amount of money that we generate as a result of operating the airport. So it's a little bit different than the rest of our City of Los Angeles partners and many other municipalities throughout the state of California, and it's set up just a little bit differently. So when we're talking about Los Angeles World Airports, certainly we're talking about Los Angeles International or LAX. Prior to the pandemic and in the year of 2019, we had 88.1 million passengers that traveled through LAX. So to give you a little bit of context for what that means, we track carefully the number of people that TSA screens here at the airport on a daily basis. And so on very busy times of the year, they might screen 115, 120,000 people coming in, of course, where they're jumping off to travel someplace. If you take that number and double it for the number of people that might be arriving then, it's kind of our best guess. On our very busiest days, we could have 250,000 people pass through LAX on a daily basis. So it is a busy place. If you've been here, you know that. We operate on a pretty small footprint. So it is challenging, particularly for our traffic officers, to get people in and out safely and efficiently. We are the busiest origination and destination airport, not just in the nation, but really in the world. And what that means is the number of people who jump off and take trips from LAX or come back is the busiest place. There are other airports that have a lot more connecting flights. So people might fly into a place like Atlanta, jump off an airplane, jump on another one and go someplace else. But for the origination destination airport, LAX is the busiest. The travel that occurs here, 25% of it is international. The other 75% is domestic. We did about 2.3 million tons of cargo back in 2019. I think we're about the 5th busiest cargo airport in the country. And we have 57,000 badged employees that work here and make LAX kind of work. I mentioned there was about 3,300 city employees. And so the rest of those 57,000 badged employers are people that work for the airlines, people that work on construction projects that sell in our concessions area, that handle baggage. Those folks represent the other people that are in that 57,000 badge employees. So it really is like working at a small city right here at LAX. If you've been following kind of the news here, you know that we're involved in quite a wonderful modernization project that we have a very brief video that I'm going to try and show you. This is a little bit dated, but it gives you a little quick view of the good work that's happening right here. So I'm going to try and play that, and if it's not going through, maybe somebody can give me a high sign.
Presenting the future of LAX. Easier, faster, more efficient. Get to your plane on time without the stress. Easily transfer between terminals. Quickly access your rental car or connect with Metro Light Rail. All this becomes a reality with the new automated people mover. Relax above traffic and enjoy the view. Go from Metro to your terminal in 10 minutes or less. Trains arrive every 2 minutes. Easy on, easy off. Construction begins in 2018 with completion in 2023. It's the easier, faster, more efficient future of LAX. Learn more by visiting flylax.com.
Thanks for letting me share that. And obviously that little video is a bit dated, but we're doing quite well. And if you've been in and around the airport, you can see the construction that's occurring. We're gonna have the world's largest consolidated rental car facility. It's gonna be quite awesome, quite convenient, quite efficient, and it's gonna make the traveling experience really top shelf. So we're looking forward to the next year or two, where a lot of these projects will be coming to completion, and we're really, really excited about that. I think it's going to just make for a much better journey. The other part of Los Angeles World Airports is Van Nuys Airport. It's lesser known because it's not a commercial airport. It's what we refer to as a general aviation airport. It's one of the busiest general aviation airports in the world. Look it up in Van Nuys in the Valley. It's got 232,000 takeoff and landing operations per year. Its footprint is about 730 acres, and it's quite an economic engine up in the Valley. It's $2 billion to the local economy each and every year. We have dedicated police officers and firefighters that are stationed there at Van Nuys Airport. And there's actually a small Customs and Border Protection office there for people who are flying private planes in from international destinations. And it's really quite a place with a lot of important assets that are located there, including advanced firefighting equipment, especially during brush fire season. So that's the other piece of Los Angeles World Airports. For those that really are familiar with aviation, you might remember that about almost 3 years ago, Ontario Airport, which was our third airport, went to local control. So there's a local control group out in Ontario. And so we had Los Angeles Airport police officers and firefighters stationed in Ontario. And it was a long run of positioning there, and our folks appreciated the opportunity to serve the Inland Empire there. But we came out of that airport, and now it's under local control. And again, that's occurred about 3 years ago or so. My specific office is called the Office of Public Safety and Security. I shared with you that we have our own airport police department. It's an organization that has about 1,100 people that represent it. They're sworn police officers, security officers, and professional staff. A great group of people who do really important work here each and every day. There are fire resources here, including the airport response firefighting folks. There's an assistant Los Angeles City Fire Department assistant chief that's out of my office. And then what you see on this slide is just kind of a representation of many of our public safety partners that are here. We actually have offices of the FBI, DEA. Of course, TSA has probably 2,300 officers that work out of LAX. There's a good sized Customs and Border Protection officers footprint here. Homeland Security Investigations is here. The Federal Air Marshals are here. And so we have this great group of people who work really hard together to keep LAX and this general aviation community safe. And I have the privilege of serving and getting a chance to interact with many of those folks really on a daily basis.
Dave, we've
Sure.
got a couple of really good questions here.
Great time, please.
Okay, one is, how does jurisdiction work at the airport? And you've sort of answered, does your security work in partnership with other police divisions, but are you the lead on those efforts?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. So we have a fully certified police agency here. And so we are kind of, as we refer to it, the tip of the spear here with providing public safety at the airport. There is a small LAPD presence here. We have great partnerships with the LAPD. They do, really incredible work. But it's about those relationships that I was just talking about. It's about working with our federal partners and our regional partners. And so we have lots of good people working together each and every day to do the good work here. So it's really shared responsibility, with the law enforcement piece really being the airport police officers at that tip of the spear.
Thanks, Dave. And we have two more questions.
Sure.
How has your counterterrorism changed your approach? How has counterterrorism changed your approach and heightened your efforts to keep the airport safe?
Do you think that means recently or just in general?
I think it probably, I would say in general, and then you might talk about recently as well.
Yeah, so counterterrorism is an important part of what we do. We have a variety of specialized units that are part of the airport police. We have an emergency response teams. We have terrorism liaison officers. We have people assigned to the federal agencies that I refer to. And we have people that are in other strategic positions. We have intelligence analysts that are really scouring the globe for real-time information to make sure that we are positioned to move into and change our deployment based on the issues of the day. And we feel like we are nimble in the way that we do that. And of course, with the number of federal partners that are actually here at the airport, we have opportunities to really work shoulder to shoulder with them and make sure that we're not missing any important information. And really is important to be watching what happens in the world. If there are issues and threats in aviation, even though it may not be in the Southern California area, if people are picking up information about threats to airports, LAX being a premier airport in the world, we want to make sure that we're addressing those kinds of issues and mitigating any of those kind of threats as well.
Dave, we've got 2 more questions if you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, are you responsible for checks and balances around mask regulations? And also, are you responsible for monitoring airport and airline staff to ensure that everyone's meeting the COVID protocols?
That's a great question. So we are responsible for mask enforcement. There had been a regulation that the city of Los Angeles put forth many months ago. Just recently, some of you may have seen or heard that the federal government put out their own regulations with regards to masks, not only in airplanes, but in airports as well. So we support the TSA and the FAA in those efforts. And I'm really happy to report that at least here at LAX, we've had very good compliance, particularly in the last couple of months. I think people are really working hard to try and take care of each other, and the mask wearing is, I think, understood now to be very important. It's an important part of travel, and of course the airlines are requiring that as well. So we're fortunate. I think that although there are always exceptions, you know, even with the pandemic, we still have thousands and thousands of people that are going through here each and every day. And we're fortunate to have had very high compliance.
Thank you. And an additional question, with technology and cyber attacks, non-visible threats, what challenges do you foresee being top issues for all airports in the future?
Right. So cybersecurity is a really, really important thing to make sure that you're addressing each and every day because the threats change so quickly. Cybersecurity is located in our information technology group, and they have some extremely talented people that are addressing threats and issues in real time. And again, they rely upon the network that they've created in aviation throughout the world, as well as our federal partners, particularly the FBI, to make sure that they're staying on top of any of those threats. That is going to continue to be a threat, of course, but we've been very fortunate, and I think it's as a result of the incredible people that we have working in those areas. And once again, the relationships. You might hear me talk about relationships a lot, but you know, whatever the discipline, it's really critical to make sure that you're working shoulder to shoulder with your expert colleagues, not just here, but throughout the country and really throughout the world.
Thanks, Dave.
So great kind of timing to just put an exclamation point on what all of you already know with regard to the impacts of COVID-19 has had. It really crippled the aviation business community, including the airlines and airports. These are real pictures that we took here at LAX. You have never seen it and probably will never see it as empty as it was during parts of this last year. It didn't take long for us to drop air travel to about 5% of what it was the year previous, so 95% lower. But you know, I have a very bright and innovative boss. Our CEO, Justin Urbachi, basically said, this is an important challenge for us. So we're going to do absolutely everything that we can to mitigate these issues. And for those that need to fly, we're going to provide them with the highest level of confidence possible to make sure that they know that they can count on us to keep the airport clean and mitigate and remove the threats of catching COVID while they're here at the airport or flying. So on the slide, you see a list of bullet points that I hope that you've heard that we've been engaged in during this last year or so with regards to enhanced cleaning, hand sanitizing, making sure that people know what 6 feet distancing is. We have a lot of signage and a lot of really, I think, state-of-the-art types of resources available for people to, again, heighten that sense of confidence so that they know that they can come to the airport and they're going to be as safe as they possibly can. This last bullet point, advanced air filtration system, I'm not an expert in this area, but our facilities and maintenance folks have upgraded much of our filtration system. And so even for a large airport, there's a lot of great innovation and things to help make sure that as you travel, you're as safe as you can. And those are the kind of things that we're going to continue going on through the summer as we hope that travel will really begin to pick up. That's the hope, that's the belief, and some of the more extensive things that we did. There was a couple of month trial period where if you were traveling internationally and you went into our Tom Bradley International Terminal, you would have walked by a passive camera that basically took your temperature without you really having to stop. You could just continue to walk. It would hit a computer, and there would be someone watching that, as you see depicted in that photograph. And if a person showed that they had an elevated temperature, they would be asked to come over, and a medical assistant would do a secondary temperature check. And it was an opportunity not just to test the technology, but to get some sense of were there people that were flying that had elevated temperatures routinely. It was a way to provide confidence again to people that were traveling here. We actually got a lot of good feedback from people who passed through there. And as it turned out, there was very, very, very few people that this technology picked up that were traveling with elevated temperatures. So it was really a win-win opportunity for us to help the industry test out some of this equipment. And as a result, there have been airports throughout the world that have made evaluations on this type of technology and deployed them as well. The other thing that we did that was again quite innovative, particularly 6 months ago or so, we were the first airport that actually had its own COVID test lab, and that's operational here at LAX. It's located right next to our theme building. So there's a small modular lab that actually is doing testing each and every day. I think today we are about 52,000 people that have been tested since this has been open. So not only is that modular lab open and centered in the airport, there are a variety of different locations in the terminals where you can have your sample taken, whether you want a PCR test or an antigen test. And it's been really well received. Again, I think it gives people a high level of confidence, whether they're taking off or returning, as to, if they have elevated concerns about their own health. And as you can probably anticipate, as the world begins to open up a little bit, there will be more and more requirements, particularly with international travel, to have a real good sense of your health status, and certainly having an ability to get a rapid test right here at the airport has been quite good. So it's been super and very well received, and we're really proud of the good work that's happened, and that will continue to be here in some capacity as an offering for for the foreseeable future, even during all of our construction and the other things that we're doing here at the airport.
Dave, we have a couple of additional questions.
Sure.
Two are related. One's related to COVID, one to the expansion, and one to your degrees and how. So let me start with the COVID question.
Sure.
COVID-19 has provided airports like LAX additional authority to manage unhoused populations that seek shelter in public spaces, public airport spaces. Do you see additional challenges managing non-passenger visitors to airports as COVID restrictions are relaxed?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So I'm quite proud of the work that we're doing as it relates to helping people who are unhoused and are struggling with homelessness. We have quite a few resources right here at LAX. First, we have a group of folks whose main focus is being advocates for people that are experiencing homelessness. It's a group called People Assisting the Homeless, otherwise known as PATH. They're here and working each and every day with people who find themselves here at the airport in whatever way that is, that are looking for additional resources. That could be mental health resources, that could be shelter resources, it could be an opportunity to reconnect with families or their previous life, which for some reason and some there are some sad stories out there where people have gone on bad luck, either financially or otherwise. People who are struggling with addiction or mental health, and they find themselves in these conditions. And so these good people are working each and every day to try and help connect those people with the right resources. In addition, we have a homelessness consultant who helps kind of oversee our efforts that is part of our staff here. We have at least a dozen police officers or so that have specialized training and work specially with this particular community. And they have a Los Angeles County mental health clinician that works with them, once again, to give this very high level of expertise and perspective to make sure that people are getting the kind of help and support and care that they need. And so, you know, the idea is to make sure that we've provided people with as much opportunity and resource as possible. And at the same time, we want to make sure that we're caring for their health and well-being, as well as the rest of the terminal's health and well-being, and everyone who may be traveling. And so it has become a very important focus for us in this period of time. And I think it's going quite well. It's something that we continue to work on each and every day. And I think a lot of airports are kind of grappling with how to best approach these issues. I think we've created a bit of a national model here, and I'm grateful for our leadership and our CEO and our board of airport commissioners, as well as the officers and the folks in the nonprofit community that have been so good at caring for these people. So I think it's going quite well. So thank you for that. That's a very relevant question.
And related to that question, do you think that the added expenses related to COVID safety protocols can be sustained long-term? And do you think these costs have taken away from other safety efforts?
Thanks for that question. I'll start with the latter. I don't think it's taken away. We are, certainly we've had, significant decreases in revenue over this period of time, but this is a priority for us. And we've made sure that we've put appropriate amount of resources in addressing these issues, and we'll continue to do that. So absolutely, it's sustainable. It's a tremendous priority, and I know that we're going to continue to do that. And I think it's number one, it's the right thing to do in terms of the health and safety of people. And number two, I think it again provides this higher level of confidence that people have that I am going to be safe to travel. I am going to be safe to go to the airport, and I know that they're doing everything that they can to make sure that they do that. It's just like the security initiatives that we have. We're always going to make those a priority, regardless of what situation we find ourselves in. So As my boss would say always, safety and security is the most important thing that we can provide the people that travel through this airport. And so we're going to make sure that that stays a priority always.
We have 3 other questions. Are you okay with that? Or
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm doing, yeah, ready to go.
Okay, great. Does LAX take part in conversations with other airports, exchanging ideas, learning from each other, best practices, making a unified effort to keep travel safe across the US?
Absolutely. So what I've learned in my time here is aviation is a very tight community. I actually serve on an international board of security directors that have representation from airports all over the world, and we meet remotely very routinely. I was on a call earlier today, a national call of security directors addressing issues that would include people who are struggling with homelessness. When I was a police chief here, I was a member of a national police leadership group that exclusively works in aviation. And there's really kind of groups like that in every discipline that is involved in aviation. It's quite connected and really is, I think, a huge support to us all to learn from each other and to make sure that we're, kind of garnering from people's experience and learning from that and applying it at our individual airports.
This question, how's the expansion and renovation of the airport affected the staffing needed for the airport from LAX Police Department?
Yeah, so we're excited. What it's going to do is it's going to provide our police officers with an opportunity to do some new and interesting things. Now, we'll have a rail system that's over 2 miles long, and so we'll have responsibility for that rail system. We'll have a responsibility for one of the largest buildings. So the consolidated rental car facility will be one of the largest buildings in California in terms of square foot. So our police chief has already plans with deployment, and as these facilities start to take shape, we know that we'll have police and security officers there on foot, riding trains, riding bicycles, patrolling the area, and we're quite well resourced here and getting ready now as we pull out of this COVID period of time, getting ready to make sure that we have the staff that's going to be required in the next couple of years to make sure that we have all of these new elements of the airport covered and safe, just as we do have here in our central terminal area. We're excited, of course, for next year the Super Bowl is going to be here. We've got World Cup coming. There's a variety of big events, and then of course the Olympics will be here in no time at all. And so all of these additions and modernization improvements will be ready for those big events for the Olympics, getting ready for the Olympics. And I know that our police chief and our leadership group will make sure that we have the resources available to keep those areas safe. And I certainly will support making sure that we have adequate staffing and good people out there doing that work as we really kind of extend the front door of LAX out into these areas.
We have a couple of questions about your education, that you have degrees in public safety, criminal justice, and education. One question is, were they required to grow in your field? And the other is, continued education in general expected in your role beyond your current degrees? Yeah,
thanks, Alice. I don't think many of the positions that I, tried to attain necessarily required really high levels of higher education, but in public safety, like a lot of other disciplines, although it may not be required, you find yourself competing with people for positions that have those higher levels of education. So I do think it has become more and more important. You know, when you're talking just about law enforcement, there's a lot of debate as it relates to how much education should police officers have. I think it makes good officers better to have a higher education degree. I certainly think for people that ascend to or have an interest in leadership positions, command staff positions, that you should try to achieve a master's degree. You know, certainly you know, back 30 something years ago when I was in college, a master's degree was still a pretty big deal. Lots of people have master's degrees now, and so I think that as you want to continue to achieve, those are important things to look at doing, because I think it just makes you better and better prepared for the kind of challenges that you will find, particularly in higher level positions. I also just think it makes you a better person. I mean, that's why I've tried to continue to have you know, that connection to higher education. I think it just makes us a better people. I think staying connected to people that you can learn from, not just your professors, but your classmates, and that has been a great benefit to me. I've met some great people, have found mentors that way, and have mentored people that way. And so I just think that it's a great thing if you have the ability to do that. And today we're living in times where you know, higher education is more available than it ever has been, and I would just continue to encourage people to engage in that and to enjoy that and really get the most out of it that you can, not just to necessarily check a box, but to really appreciate and live those experiences, particularly with the people that you get a chance to have in those journeys. So I think it's been great. I feel blessed and have had, you know, really positive experiences every place that I've been.
And thank you, Dave. And piggybacking on that, from someone in the audience, currently works in an airline but wants to move up. And what would you recommend that they get their master's in for someone who wants to stay in the industry?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I think that it's great if you know where you're headed and can create a tight pathway in order to do that. But I think that everything counts, right? I think that master's degree in anything is important and helpful, particularly if you have an interest or a passion in it. I mean, if you're on the true aviation side, it may be that you want to get an MBA. There are a number of universities that have advanced degrees in aviation. I have met an increasing number of people that have those kinds of degrees. I think that's helpful. But anytime where you can become a better critical thinker, that you can again learn from colleagues, particularly as it relates to leadership and management kind of principles, I think all those things can be helpful. So doing it is more important than the particular degree, I think. That's just my particular perspective.
Thank you, Dave. And one additional question, that what's the most rewarding part of your role, and what's the biggest challenge that you have?
I think the most rewarding is getting a chance to serve with great people who are passionate and work hard and have this kind of drive to, you know, on the public safety side, to keep people safe and to serve people. And with my other colleagues that are other executives here, just the hard work in creating just these great experiences, making sure everything is safe and secure, but also making sure that there's these great experiences like these wonderful construction projects are going to really create for people. And so the most rewarding part is definitely getting a chance to work with great, talented, committed people. The challenges, I think, have been very similar to what the rest of the world has been challenged with in the last year or so. It's making sure that you're taking care of your people and doing everything you can to keep them safe and healthy. And then it's fighting through what has been a really difficult year. And as I said, aviation has been particularly bruised by this last year's experience. So I think that's been certainly the most challenging. And at the same time, we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel. And that's encouraging, and I think it's inspiring to my colleagues and people that are in this industry, because we're starting to see some good things happen, and we're looking forward to even better things ahead.
Thank you, Dave.
I'll just finish with just a public safety plug. If you know people who might be interested in serving as either a police officer or a security officer here at LAX, here's some ways to get in touch with some of our recruitment people. We'll be really kind of pushing for higher numbers of recruitment as the pandemic slows down and as our recovery picks up speed. And so again, we got really great people that do great and important work here each and every day. But there's tons of careers here at the airport. We have talented people in virtually every area. Again, many of them are City of Los Angeles employees. You can find those jobs on the City of Los Angeles careers website. And just it's a really fascinating and exciting place to be and to serve. And I've really enjoyed my time here. So those are the slides that I have prepared, but we might have just a couple more minutes if there's any other questions. Happy to take them.
Well, there are two, as a matter of fact. Is there any advice you wish you were given in college? Anything you can offer students who are in college now?
Okay, well, this will be a little bit more philosophical. Enjoy the moment, right? So as someone who's been out of college a good long time now, I think we have a natural tendency to look ahead, and particularly if you have goals for yourself, whether it's your personal life or your career. I think those are great things. I know I did. I enjoyed reaching those goals, but I think enjoying the ride each and every day on the way to achieving those goals is just a philosophy that I think is really important, and that's certainly what I would tell my younger self today, for sure.
And what does the background check look like to serve the airport?
Yeah, so if you're a police officer, security officer, obviously it's much more significant than if you just work here, but everybody who works at the airport has to go through a background check. We do that through our security badge office by way of the information that you provide, and we send your fingerprints to the FBI and all of those kinds of things that you would expect for people that have access to secured areas in the airport. But if you want to be a police officer or a security officer, obviously those backgrounds are much more comprehensive and extensive and similar to what you would find in any other police department, and maybe even a little bit more here at the airport. So comprehensive, but you can find a lot of that information on our careers pages as well.
Any other questions for Dave? Well, certainly, Dave, we want to thank you so much. Obviously, everybody was interested. I sure learned a lot. I can't wait to fly again. And,
well, we have a place for you, Alice. We're rolling out the red carpet, and thanks for doing a great job moderating, and just thank you to all the folks who put this opportunity together. And it's a pleasure to be with you all, and go Beach.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Alice, so much. Before we go, Dave, if anyone wants to connect with you, are you on LinkedIn where they might search for you and connect with you?
I am, and also I'll give you my my email address here. It's dmaggard, Maggard, at lawa, LAWA.org.
Wonderful. So thank you again. Just like Alice, I'm very excited to travel with everything you have in place. But very thankful for your service. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Please follow us on social media and visit our website to learn about future programs like this. So we thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.